Last night at the end of the Kansas State-Kansas game, Kansas won that one very easily. And as they were trying to dribble out the clock, a Kansas State player stole the ball down like 30 and tries to go do a layup, and the person that he stole the ball from said, you're not going to do this to me. We're up a lot. We won this game. You should do the gentleman thing and let us just dribble out this time and take this beating in a classy fashion. That guy goes, volleyball spikes the layup as the clock is unwinding, then flexes over the guy in a rather intimidating fact. I mean, he was flexing on that dude very, very, very hard. And then what happened after that is a situation where I believe the Kansas team wanted to go celebrate with the guy who just had the swat as if it was a walk-off home run. And then the Kansas State team wanted to go help their guy up who was on the ground. And anytime you have two groups of humans from opposite teams jogging to the same area in a hostile environment, especially when they're 18 to 21 years old, college basketball, in the same area, and there's one person flexing on another team something, there is going to be a situation, and all hell broke loose in Kansas last night. All hell. There's this poor lady that got deboed by an 18-year-old basketball player. This is the handicap section, if I do... It rolled into the handicap section. There was a guy in a polo and khakis getting swung on, a Kansas basketball player. By God, he picked up a chair. I mean, they had a lot of white people standing around watching. I mean, it was an insane scene in Kansas. There's a couple shots of the kids and students in the front row enjoying the hell out of it. Then there's a couple shots of older whites panicked and scared to hell. And this is something that I assume the basketball world, the college basketball world, is not going to love. I assume this is going to be something that punishments are going to be mighty, especially the dude that had the chair over his head as if he was about to break it over the skull of the Kansas State kid with a lady grabbing onto his leg in pure fear after she's been knocked down. I'd assume there's going to be some rather large suspensions. And I guess this Kansas team is like the number 2 team in the country. They're about to lose whoever the big guy was that was about to Rocky Johnson to Kurt Angle a chair off of his head. Bang. I mean, that was awesome to watch, obviously, as a fan. But I just understand that the NCAA in the sporting community, especially for these student human athletes, I mean, that chair is possibly at its tip there, 10 feet in the sky. He has a chair all the way over his head, a bunch of old whites panicking in the background, and then he's about to bring that thing down on a Kansas State guy's face. I assume that the punishment is going to be mighty for this. And the University of Kansas, or is it Kansas University, athletic director Jeff Long, I believe is his name, came out with an entire statement here immediately. They went into crisis mode, and they said this: the conduct of a few of our student human athletes at the conclusion of tonight's game versus Kansas State was simply unacceptable and not reflective of who we are, said KU Director of Athletics Jeff Long. Coach Self and I will review the incident along with the Big 12 Conference and Kansas State to determine appropriate consequences. There is no place for this conduct in college athletics or here at KU. I would like to apologize to the Big 12 Conference, Kansas State University, Gene Taylor, Bruce Weber, and all the fans for the lack of sportsmanship from members of our team this evening. I think Jeff Long forgot to apologize to one person, that lady. That lady that was on the ground holding on for dear life with his leg while that guy has the chair. I think that lady deserved at least a mention in that apology, but this is going to be pretty mighty. Is Kansas going to survive this? Will they still be the number 2 team if they lose, 4 of their guys for the rest of the season? Because that's potentially what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the rest of the season, then yeah. But if anything other than that, it doesn't matter until you get to the tournament. I commend the dude who had the chair because he was going full swing with the chair, and then once he got it to about 12 feet over his head, he realized, you know what, probably shouldn't swing this chair at somebody.
That's awesome. That's like that whenever we were talking about Myles Garrett, who fully did the helmet swing onto Mason Rudolph's head with Mason Rudolph's helmet. We compared it to a scene that happened a couple years ago. I think it was the Dolphins and somebody else, the Texans, I believe. And somebody had the person's helmet, and they went to swing, and then halfway through the swing, they're like, "Oh, I can't hit somebody with a helmet." That's kind of what that guy did with the chair. Myles Garrett's the only person to fully have a foreign object in a sporting event fight to fully follow through, and for that, I respect it.
I like how the Kansas player has the stool by the wrong end. He's clearly never watched the movie Roadhouse. He's holding it from the seat. He's going to hit them with the flimsy leg.
Yeah, everybody knows classic WWE chair shot. You grab it by the leg. You don't grab it by the seat. Mostly because there's a lot more surface area up there by the seat you got to swing it with. But boy, what a scene there in Kansas State. Well, hello there. Utilize the promo code PAYTHEBILLS and get $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Now, back to the magic. And it's the first time we've talked about college basketball on the show, so I guess just like the buzzers for the Astros. Good for them. It seems like those kids are probably gone, though. Yeah. That kid who was swinging the chair and got into the fight in the handicapped fan section, I mean, that's probably enough to warrant a
And it looked like plainclothes people were getting like thrown down and swung on too. Like that's why it's going to be so hard to look at because it looked like everyone was involved.
There's no sound on that video, but you could tell the woman's doing stop, stop.
There was a lot of white ladies in there, not happy about what was happening to their popcorn that was sitting right in front of them. That was a big deal. That's a big ordeal, and I'm excited to see how they punish these people.
Did anyone actually connect with the single?
I don't think so.
There's one dude in a collared shirt who came in early from Kansas State who I think did get a punch in.
And then he's the one who ended up losing his shoes. He ended up getting pushed out of his shoes. I mean, there's a male cheerleader in there breaking things up. It was a wild scene, but good for, I don't want to say this.
Go ahead.
If one of your teammates gets in a fight, though, and you don't get in the fight, there's a lot to be said about that as well, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like in the Mason Rudolph, Myles Garrett situation where Pouncey took him to the ground and was punching his helmet. You heard everybody that's ever been a part of a team sport basically commend him for what he did. A lot of people were like, "Oh, look at him. He's beating the hell out of him while he's on the ground, blah, blah, blah." It was like, no, anybody that's ever played a team sport, you heard them say, Pouncey is the only dude on here that basically did the right thing. And then in film, I'm sure they watched to see who was potentially around and did not get involved. And I'm not going to say that I'm not saying Coach Tomlin circled some people and like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" But every player watched that video and said, insert name here, was not ready to go in that particular fight. And in a locker room, that is something that can maybe change the way people feel about you. So although this situation is very unfortunate, terribly unfortunate, the timing, the circumstance, the lady that got knocked down, the chair that was about to get swung, I mean, it got taken to a level way too far. The male cheerleader that came in with his wrists taped because he just got done doing some round-off back handsprings, getting in there and breaking it up. I mean, all that. It is commendable that the entire team was fighting with the entire team. And that's the only good thing about this whole thing, is that the entire team, even the dudes that were wearing khakis, untied shoes, obviously, in a polo got involved. I think that is something we can talk about as being commendable. But, boy, everything else is just a bad look for both teams.
Yeah, it was K-State's fault. I mean, don't steal the ball when you're down.
Come on. Have a little respect. Yeah. And if you're going to go up with that weak-ass layup and you don't expect to get that thing 10-foot line like volleyball,
exactly.
Get the hell out of here. So they'll all get suspended, I assume, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah.